Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to the information session of the Graduate School of Science and Technology Policy, or STP. My name is Kyungbin Ko, and I'm currently a PhD student serving as the student representative of the STP Graduate School. It is my great pleasure to have you all here today. Whether you are considering applying to STP or simply exploring your options, we hope the session will give you a clear and engaging overview of our program. Now, let me briefly walk you through today's session. We will begin with an overview of the STP program and admissions process presented by our department head. Following that, several faculty members will introduce their research labs and ongoing projects. Next, we will hear directly from our students. A master student, Anissa, and a PhD student, Chunyo, will share their experiences in the STP program, including academic life, research, and career perspectives. Finally, we will conclude with a Q&A session where you are welcome to ask any questions you may have. And now, without further ado, I would like to invite our department head to present the STP program and admissions overview.
Thank you, Kyungbin, and all other STP students who took much energy and time to prepare this event. So my name is Chi Young-jeon. I'm one of the faculty members at STP. And then I'll welcome you all for coming to this information session, and then for your interest in our graduate school. So I'll try to be quick so that you can have more time to listen to the students' experiences. I think that will be the highlight of today's session. And also you have much time to ask questions and then also engage with the other faculty members. I really like this mission statement of our graduate school, and the faculty members got together a few years ago to really craft this message to ourselves and to our students, but also to prospective students. So let me just read it for you so that you can also see what that means and see if you can also sympathize with our vision here. The KIST STP creates science and technology policy knowledge to create a diverse, democratic, and just society. From local to global, towards action and insights, our learning is continuous. So there are a lot of highlights in this short sentence. So we create science and technology policy knowledge. So it's not just a science and technology policy itself, but it's really about the knowledge of science and technology policy. So it's knowledge of policy, knowledge about how policy needs to be made, knowledge about what policy even means. So we are committed to this deep intellectual process of really discussing every aspect of science and technology policy, and to create diverse, democratic, and just society. So that shows really the commitment of our faculty, but also our current grad students, to produce policy knowledge that can contribute to the diversity and the democratic nature, and also justice in our society, not just Korean society, but also in international communities as well. And then from local to global. So a lot of faculty and students work on policy issues in Korea, but we also work on other international and global issues related to science and technology. So you're all welcome to choose research themes that really mean something to you, whether it's in Korea, but also abroad. And towards action and insights, our learning is continuous. So that's the scary part. Our learning is continuous. You'll never stop learning. Once you come to STP, you will take classes, participate in seminars and events, and then do your own research, write your thesis. It just never ends. So if you like that aspect of the graduate school life, you're welcome to STP. Our vision: we are living in the age of profound scientific and technological disruption. I guess everyone can agree to that statement. STP aspires to humanize science and technology and innovation. So humanize. So we are interested in the human aspects of science, technology, and innovation. If you're interested only in scientific and technical aspects of innovation, then you'll be studying in other science and engineering departments and graduate schools. But if you're interested in human dimensions or social dimensions of science and technology and innovation, you are in a right place. And we do that with a critical understanding of evidence from numbers and narratives. So a lot of words. So we take evidence seriously, but we also approach the evidence with a critical perspective. So whether that accepting that's given to you, what's given to you, but we try to approach and understand, analyze what it means, and then we try to offer critical understanding of that. And then the evidence ranges from numbers and to narratives. So a lot of our faculty and students work with numbers, numerical data, graphs, and then the data generated from that. So quantitative aspects of science and technology policy, but also other many faculty and students work with narratives, which means words, ideas, documents, etc. So both numbers and narratives are important in crafting our policy knowledge about science and technology and innovation. So we also make sure that this diversity of approaches and perspectives are maintained and nurtured in our program. Our vision is to shape the deep futures of the planet. So that's even more ambitious statement. So we do not just care about Korea or some other countries. We try to think deeply about the planet itself, because science and technology are having impact on our planet, not just on certain communities or nations. So we try to encourage students to think this at a planetary scale, even as they work on very small scale, detailed topic. So this is how we look at our graduate school and our scholarship. I think this is a very bold statement. So we can't do it on an everyday basis, but from time to time, we encourage ourselves to really think about think about our own work in this way. So we also encourage you to think about science and technology like this as you prepare for applying to our graduate school. Why you want to study science and policy, what that means to you, what is it for. So it'll be nice to see those statements and perspectives in your materials for admission. These are all the nice words that come from our faculty and students. So it shows just to show the diversity of our research and perspectives. And then we have currently 11 faculty members, the full-time faculty members here. Many of them are here today, so you can ask questions and then also approach them later. You can also see the diversity of disciplines, the background disciplines of their training and the research topics, and the different ways of organizing their research. And if you are interested in applying to our grad school, I'd encourage you to visit our website and then look at the faculty members' research, look at their publications and then their statements, and then if possible, try to read some of them. If you're interested in certain keywords and themes, not just look at the website, but go deeper a little, and then try to really read and understand what the faculty members or the graduate students have been producing. And if you really find some interesting aspects of that, and then try to contact faculty members and have conversation. Right. So we appreciate it when the students have done their like homework, so to speak, before applying to us. So make sure that you understand at least some of our ongoing and previous work, and then what the faculty and students are currently engaged in. Then, if you really show your understanding of our program, that helps for your admissions as well. And then we also have many adjunct faculty or visiting faculty members from our neighbor departments and programs at KAIST, but also many scholars from abroad as well, from Georgia Tech, from Keio University, from Google, and then also the former Minister of Foreign Affairs or former ambassador of Korean government. So we have this fantastic list of adjuncts and visiting faculties with whom you can have opportunity to work and talk. There are different kinds of scholarships that you may apply and then and luckily get, which will help get through the graduate programs given by KAIST or some outside external entities, but you can read them on our website. Also, our website has all these admissions materials and the requirements. Make sure that you read them carefully, and then because some of the rules apply differently to Korean students and international students, also differently to master's applicants and the PhD applicants. So the different requirements, so to make sure that you understand them well. And then if you have any questions, you can contact our student representative or you contact our administration office. These are some of our STP alumni who are working at universities as faculty members or continuing their research as postdoctoral research fellows, or they have gone to become lawyers or deputy directors, research fellows, and policy officers at corporations and the government institutions, and etc. So there are really many different ways that you can use your knowledge from STP in pursuing your next career after graduate school. So I guess that's it. And so again, I mean, thank you for your interest in our program. And then, so hopefully we'll see you or some of you again on the KAIST campus.
Thank you, Professor Chiang-Jon, for the insightful overview. Now we will move on to the faculty presentations. Our professors will introduce their research areas, current projects, and opportunities for students. Please join me in welcoming our faculty members.
Hello, everyone. I'm Soyoung Kim, and I'm running a lab called the R&D Policy Lab. And I have been struggling with some of these questions for a long time, although I haven't really found much on these questions, because these are the questions we are dealing with internally and also internationally. Some of the questions are only relevant for this country, such as why we don't have a Nobel Prize yet. But the questions like how much we should be spending on science and technology, and also how should we evaluate science and technology outputs or outcomes, is just such a common challenge for anybody interested in how we should be mobilize and utilize science and technology for whatever purposes. Mostly in our department, I guess it's very public purposes. And I have been teaching these courses, and also as for research, I've done some of large projects, but lately I'm doing a research project on next generation nuclear technology and communication, because as we know, climate change and all these electrical demand from widespread use of AI, there's a big interest in things like SMR. So this is not a individual project. We are doing this with Carey Research Institute on nuclear energy, and also some of our faculty members are participating. If you are interested, just contact me via email. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you. History of Science and Policy. It's a name of my team. I calling it not lab but team because we don't have a one single topic to pursue. It's very diverse, just like a sports team. Somebody's doing shooting, rebounding, passing, and then we are doing all kinds of things in their own rights. But the two big topics that's two projects going on. Is one is Anthropocene, and the other is synthetic biology, bioengineering, biotechnology, emerging biotechnology, and the Anthropocene is the new geological time suggested and then talked about to describe current status of the planet that we mentioned in the vision statement. It's not just about the climate change or climate crisis, but all kinds of existential questions, crisis, such as, I think, including AI and food, and which means the biotechnology, and some other questions related to who we are as human being, and then what the planet is. So sometimes it's a question about very the abstract questions about existence and about the non-humans, and then also about the science itself. So some of the students working on this topic is dealing with, for example, the history of food science, focusing on the role of microbes in fermentation processes, and then microbes, how that process is related to the politics, the bigger politics like Cold War and so on, and they're basically working on kimchi and doenjang and alcohol, but bring out the big story. And then the other working on, for example, wildfire in Korea, how the forest is being managed and so on. And then also the question of what the science is. It's a normative aspects of science by studying the field of geology and other fields. And also there are people who are working on synthetic biology, for example, the international collaborations between UK and Korea, and then the difference between the Korean systems and the British systems, and in terms of governance and so on. So that's one example. And about the standardization, the global standardization issues. So I think it's evolving, but to me, I'm really interested in the question of trust in science, how people got confidence in what they are doing, and then how can we trust what we are doing? And so that's a kind of a fundamental questions that I'm having at the moment. All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Chung, and welcome to STP introductory session. And let me briefly introduce my intention for my research, as well as what I have done over the last 25 or 30 years on the matter of science. Actually, my topic will be based on the evolutionary economics, and also my major is the science and technology policy studies. So I'm particularly interested in science and technology policy, as well as firm level and also at the national levels as well. So a cornerstone of my thought is coming from neo-Schumpeterians. As you know, Schumpeter is one of the first scholar who put the emphasis on innovation as very important in the capitalist economy, as well as innovation will be one of the key sources of creating a wealth of nations. So I follow on the Schumpeter's thoughts and joining the bandwagon of neo-Schumpeterians school of thoughts as well. And more in particular, I'm quite interested in post-catch-up. Well, as you know, it's a difference between catch-up and post-catch-up, and Korea has exhibit most successfully in the catching up in most advanced technology nations. But now we are in the stage of post-catch-up. So in the stage of post-catch-up, we need a different policy architecture, firm level strategies, and also national level innovation policies may be needed for sustaining or building a post-catch-up innovation system. So my key research question, as I said, mentioned here, in this kind of post-catch-up interface, not only technological capability is very critical source, but at the same time, non-technological capability really one another critical methods to build post-catch-up stages. So this question will be one of the key my research roadmap. And over the last couple of years, I've been focusing on a number of writing of books. And recently, I finished 2 handbooks with our colleagues on the regional innovation system and the key success factors of Korean business corporations, their catching up mechanisms and as a strategy as well. And recently, I finished a number of 2 projects. An ongoing project is called Required Innovation Capability Indicators, transition from catch-up to post-catch-up firms. So I will be finishing this project by next year. And also my teaching at STP, 2 subjects currently I'm offering. One is National Innovation System for graduate level, and also a policy analysis of technology development in Korea between undergrad and postgraduate level of courses that I'm offering. So if you're interested in, just barge in my office or you can send an email. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. So, I mean, number of slides are 17. It's a security, but actually effective number of slides is 5. So you don't need to be worried. So, yeah, so this is the, I mean, basically I want to deliver our lab's manifesto. And let's start with this anecdote. So, recently, I think he made a full, I think, mistake or indictment. So, I mean, so probably you Korean students may, and this is my loose translations. And South Korea's overall rate of success in R&D amount to 19%, which I find outrageously ridiculous. Our homeland modus operandi must be more amenable to good faith feeling. Yeah. So that's the whole message. Then probably we anticipate 3 impulse responses. First, yes. Second, no, probably with the more annoyingly terse manner. And third one is I think you may speculate on for instance, the last on how one might define research productivity. So this is the manifesto. Any of the parts response might make one pursue the third way because it will foster new research. Okay? So generally speaking, any topical social political issues deserve your own research questions. Of course, under rubric of economic reasoning. So for instance, tomorrow, this is making and probably you may questions how, I mean, yes, will affect the economy. That is the topic. So here, okay. Then third one, I think we also lend a sympathetic ear to what we Minister of Science and ICT refers to as the case science initiative. This is the model for the purpose of further promoting research topics exclusively indigenous to Korea. So for instance, if you have any chance to watch the movie Wanggasan, the King's One, so that is perfect, the epitome of this case science initiative. Okay, so there for your information, and then if we don't have time, so I don't want to talk about it. Actually, this is the attempt to, what is it? This is the bold attempt to overcome the called modernism, because modernism will narrowly define science. Okay. So, I mean, this sample thesis in our lab, in our house, the persistent, he actually wrote on kind of the optimal common tax and economic growth. And of course, it's very topical issues. And basically, he tried to understand carbon dioxide emissions and discount rate. You might be wondering why discount rate are related to carbon dioxide emissions. And so there's a whole questions. And second one, this is more like research productivity in the sense of the domain of growth model. I think we will be learning how to special one. So, and yeah, so the simplicity. So points I said this, you could define your own version of this productivity, and then you may conclude that Korea's nuclear industry has been competitive or not. Okay. So skipping and three remarks. And so like other arts and science, economic science adopt rhetorical kata. I mean, in slang, kata is fantastic form, and fact, logic, metaphor. This metaphor is called basically model, okay? And story. And we follow suit. And of course, from a more dichotomistic perspective, metaphors dominate science, such as physics. And while stories dominate art, like literature. But economics mode of argument are more closely balanced between the two. Okay. So this is the usual disclaimer price. Okay. This is my presenter's opinions. It's not related to any government opinion. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Dasom Lee, and I'm leading, I guess, the Artificial Intelligence Cyber-Physical Systems Policy Lab, and we are focusing on AI-related infrastructures. For example, we're looking at the energy transitions, so that's smart meters, smart grids, renewable energy technologies, transportation, such as automated vehicles and unmanned aerial vehicles, and data centers. And data centers is the topic that I'm really interested in these days. So we'll get into that in a bit. But so as a lab, we use both quantitative and qualitative methods. So we use both statistics as well as more qualitative methods like interviews. And these are the current ongoing papers. And I want to spend a little bit more time on them. So we're looking at how US data center siting is related to the resource lock-in. So how close are they to freshwater resources? How close are they to power generators? And how that affects the feasibility and the siting of US data centers. The second one is where the data center is situated in terms of, in the US, in terms of race. Are they mostly located in underrepresented minority areas, communities? Are they mostly located in lower income communities, or are they mostly located in communities where there's lower political involvement, like lower voting rates, or maybe they're more involved in areas where there are more Republicans because they're less concerned about environmental aspects? So that's another paper that we're working on. The third one I think is really interesting is we're looking at the technologies that plateau net zero transitions. So how are these technologies that we are really excited about, right? That we think, oh, they're going to really contribute to net zero, and they're going to really contribute to the energy transition, but they're actually not doing much. And why is that happening? And we're actually using two we're doing like a Venn diagram, my colleagues and I, and we're hypothesizing that there's a latency issue and that there's a problem shifting issue. And these are leading to the technologies that plateau net zero technologies. And the third one, the fourth one we are focusing on geoengineering, so solar geoengineering. So what are the risk perceptions regarding solar geoengineering? Why do people like it and why do people not like it? Who likes them and who don't like them? And why does that kind of divide? Why does that divide exist? So that's what we're doing. And we basically, if you look at the entire kind of description, you'll be able to see that it's mostly about the environment and social justice, as well as the energy transitions. So I think as a group, what we're really hoping to do is to establish some kind of connection that the environmental justice is related to the social justice, and that technologies play a significant role in shaping both of them. So that's it. If you have any questions, just send me an email. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hyun. I'm assistant professor here at STP. So my research group, which we call Organization of Science and Innovation, we're generally focused on three domains, three areas. One is I think the salient part of our lab is the production of science. So we have here, let me just introduce a few research that we are doing right now. First one is we're looking at how teams and collaboration structures are affected by the emergence of the artificial intelligence, especially the large language model. So here what we're doing is we're looking at identifying the fraction of papers that went through the large language model refinement, and we see if has been changes in the structure of team by looking at contributorship statements, so we can see whether we see more specialists in the team with when they adopted the large language model, or we see more generalists. So these are kind of classic kind of tension between specialization and the generalization, and we use this kind of artificial intelligence as a very interesting case to examine this kind of classic questions. Another research that I'm doing that we're also interested in the careers of scientists. So here we look at, for example, the master's and apprentice data from dissertation. You can kind of extract those information, the dissertation, the supervisor and students, and we look at what are the kind of training conditions and how that affects their long-term career from the perspective of mentee as well as mentor. So we're also interested in looking at kind of trying to apply more quantitative methods into more traditional STS question. For example, what is how do we understand the scientific knowledge? Is it something that is out there waiting to be discovered, or is it more constructed by those who consume those knowledge? How do we actually quantify that, and how does that change over time, which you can see from the far right. Also, these are kind of more, I guess, more social sciencey, more theoretical questions. Of course, we are also interested in what's the kind of implication for the policy. So the governance science part, I have kind of long-standing interested in the research ethics. So I've been analyzing the retraction data, and this is especially going to be more important with the rise of large language models, especially the agentic AI. And we're doing a few research projects related to that. The third part is kind of my own interest. My students are not really interested in part. I like the history of science and the technology. So I'm working with my colleagues in the US, looking at cultural evolution and the role of the distance in common language, such as Latin, in shaping the flow of knowledge using historical data. Okay, so in terms of the method-wise, we use both mixed methods. Usually for project, it's either quantitative or it's either qualitative. So we don't really combine it together, but at the lab level, I do both quantitative and qualitative methods. So for quantitative methods, we use most of times the large publication data set, patent data sets. We begin to use agentic AI to for example, to classify whether that certain the grant proposal has a high chance of producing patents, and then we also have a plan to use this agentic AI framework to understand, for example, what's the kind of best way to organize organized knowledge production in terms of peer review and what gets cited and so on, right? These are really important kind of important kind of philosophy of sociology of science questions can be addressed with the increasing fraction of science being done by AI in the future. Qualitative methods, interview and field study. My students haven't done it yet. I did my field studies in my dissertation. So, and you know, there's the projects that I'm doing, we're planning to go into a bunch of labs and to see how they're adopting artificial intelligence in terms of whether it is large language models or is it just the standardized packages such as the AlphaFolds. We're just finding a way to do the field observation. Okay, if you have more questions, you can just email me or go to my website and see my project. Thank you.
Yeah, this is not Professor Moon Choi. I'm a student at Professor Moon Choi's lab. Nice to meet you. My name is Juan. And since my professor is not able to make it here today, unfortunately, I'm going to present in her stead about the Aging and Technology Policy Lab, or the AT Lab for short. So before I talk about this, I want to do a quick survey. How many of you are in engineering schools or science schools or engineering labs? Okay, quite a lot. How many of you have done user studies where you actually get people in and get them to use what you made? Okay, not many of you. So that's somewhat similar to what we do. So we look at where technologies meet users and what happens. So what technologies are easier for them to use? What are some of the things that the engineers or developers might have missed? Some context that should have been taken into account when they are developing these things? And what can we do to help them improve further and help the users get used to these new types of technology better? And one big thing about this is the social welfare and also social justice part of it. So we're looking at users technology users who aren't traditionally, in a sense, the target demographic. So older adults, children, immigrants, and so on. And for the thesis and dissertations and research projects, we do similar things related to that. But since we have different interests, there's a lot of different types of technology that we look into. For the time being, since AI is a very hot thing right now, we're looking at new types of AI applications, AI technologies, but we also look into a lot of different areas such as healthcare or AI ethics or other different types. Yeah, and if you have any questions or are interested, you could check our website and you could probably knock on Professor Moon Choi's door or probably email her. I'm not her, so I don't know, but don't tell her I sent you because I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, that so far wraps up the introduction for our lab. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So my name is Rihanna. I'm a 4th semester PhD student in D-Lab, and I will be presenting our lab on behalf of Professor Park. I will talk about who we are, what kind of vision is the lab trying to convey, and also what kind of questions are driving our research group. So the lab's research is organized around 3 theoretical anchors: development theory, socio-technical systems, and global governance. And these theoretical anchors connects to 3 interconnected areas, which are governance, so how data can inform global governance frameworks such as the UN Sustainable Development Goals; technology, so looking at information systems, aid data platform, etc. And also developments with a focus on sustainable development and inclusive development. So that central triangle of governance, technology, and development is the core of our lab's research. So in terms of our approach, it is transdisciplinary. So the lab doesn't stick to one method or one discipline. The approach is also mainly field-driven, data-driven, creativity-driven, and the methodology follows the questions, of course, whichever qualitative or quantitative, whichever the question demands. So in terms of unit of analysis, what DLab is really interested in is to go beyond individuals and to look at how organizations and how institutions interact with each other. So through a socio-technical lens, meaning how society and technology are shaping each other. So this connects to our lab's vision to be a transdisciplinary research group that values epistemological openness, intellectual curiosity, and cultural diversity. So the goal of the lab is to be boundary crossers, so to bridge science, technology, and society, to connect theory and practice, but also to engage with Korean and global policy discussions, all while cultivating critical thinking and also real-world impact. So a brief presentation of our professor, the head of our lab, Professor Park Young-yeol, who is an associate professor at KAIST STP. He is also the director of the KAIST Global Center for Development and Strategy, GCODES, as well as an adjunct professor in the AI governance and policy cluster at NYU. So Professor spent roughly 7 years as a development practitioner before joining academia. And in academia, his work is aiming to bridge this gap between practice and theory by addressing a wide range of disciplines and research, notably national development strategies, digital policy, R&D policy, among others. So that's very big. So to give you a sense of what kind of research concretely we are doing in our lab, let me introduce you briefly my lab mates and also what research we're working on. So as you can see, it's quite diverse in terms of culture. We are 6 PhD students and 1 master student. 2 of them graduated already. So in terms of the team, Seungyeon is a 4th-year PhD candidate, and he's studying how digital technologies are reshaping the concept of sovereignty. Juno is a 3rd-year PhD student, and he studies science diplomacy in terms of its conceptual evolution and the patterns in the international network. Dongjun is a PhD student, and he's researching the use of AI to improve the measurements of development assistance. Sohee looks at how science, technology, and ICT can support the development of lower-income countries. Jiyeon is a master PhD integrated student, and she studies global health data governance. As for me, I'm working on the concept of digital sovereignty, as well as how it connects with national AI strategies. The hashtags are a bit outdated, sorry. So on the master side, we have Anissa, whom you will get to know later as well. She's working on AI governance and the geopolitics of AI. So how developing countries try to have a voice in the international forums. And Dika and Ahmad graduated, but respectively, they worked on internet governance and education for development. So even though our topics are quite different, the spirit is very collaborative in our lab in terms of that we are like meeting regularly and always sharing our research with each other. So this maps into the lab's name, D, which stands for Development Innovation, Digital Inclusion, and Data Ingenuity. So if any of the topics that I mentioned or questions resonate with your interest, don't hesitate to visit our website and send us an email. So thank you very much.
Next, I will briefly introduce one of our research labs at STP, the CASS lab. CASS stands for the Chinese and Asian Science Studies Laboratory, led by Professor Jungsi Christian Yi. This lab focuses on understanding science and technology developments in Asia, with a particular emphasis on China, and examining their broader social, political, and institutional implications. The lab's research can be broadly categorized into three main areas. First, Chinese science and technology. This area critically and strategically examines the rise of Chinese science and technology, helping us better understand its global impact and future trajectory. Second, university policy. This research area focuses on diagnosing and addressing challenges in Korea's science and technology higher education policy and redefining the roles of KAIST and other Korean universities. And third, veterinary humanities. This is more interdisciplinary area that looks at the relationships between humans, animals, and environments. And it explores issues such as agriculture, disease, and knowledge systems in Asia, contributing to the broader concept of one planetary health. So if you have any questions or if you would like to talk to Professor Jong-sik Lee in person, you can contact him via email, as you can see.
I already spoke too much, so I'll be brief. So this is my research group, Technology and Social Imagination, and we work with these questions: why technologies do not always improve human conditions, and how technology and society can be otherwise, how we can find alternatives. And we pay attention to practices, experience, visions, and tensions among scientists and engineers and other members of society. And then we do research with the documents, artifacts, interviews, and field works. So that's it.
So thank you to our professors for the informative and engaging presentations. Now we will hear from our students who will share their personal experiences in the STP program. First, it is my pleasure to introduce Anissa, a master's student in STP. Please welcome Anissa.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see so many faces here. My name is Anissa, and I'm here to kind of explain my experience here at STP as an international graduate student. Okay, perfect. So first, I'd like to introduce a little bit about myself. So I am originally from Germany. I'm 24 years old, and my background is in political science and sociology from the University of Heidelberg, which is represented by the beautiful castle up there. And during my undergrad, I developed an interest in the digital sphere slowly. It first started with cybersecurity politics, but then kind of culminated in my undergraduate thesis on EU AI policy diffusion. And now my current research interests, I think, are mostly like very generally summarized by the question, how can we formulate and enforce AI policy that serves the people? So it's a more human-centric approach. And the topics are global AI governance and multilateralism, so which means collective approaches by state and non-state actors to build guidelines and frameworks, and also legal instruments to deal with the implications of AI. And also the geopolitics of technology and AI in particular. So that kind of means how are states competing, cooperating, and also exercising power through the development, control, and government of artificial intelligence and other technologies. Okay, so why and how did I end up here at KAIST in STP? I was kind of looking for a program that is specialized on technology and science policy instead of just doing a general political science master's. There are actually very few in Germany, and the ones that I found in Europe while researching are very expensive. So I was trying to make a financially reasonable decision that also stays true to my research interests. And KAIST is, at least from what I found before coming here, not necessarily known as a humanities hotspot. It's more STEM-based. But for me, actually, it was a plus point because I wanted to kind of get out of the political science and humanities bubble and actually interact and study with people who make the technology and come from those backgrounds. Yes, and I actually, before applying, I went to the website, as many of you probably did, otherwise you wouldn't be here, and looked at the curriculum and saw a lot of courses, for example, high-tech industry policy, AI and robot policy, but also technology foresight and imagination. So while reading, I thought, oh, okay, nice, I really want to learn that. And another aspect, obviously, for me coming from Germany would be the international one. I had other international experiences prior. I was studying in Paris a little bit and also in Florida in the US. But I've actually never been to Asia in general before coming to KAIST in Korea. But because my research interest is situated at the global level and focusing on international cooperation, I thought it would be very interesting actually to learn about the Korean angle in all of this, especially from like Korea is kind of situated quite interestingly between those AI giants, US and China. So I thought that would enhance my studies. So after coming here, you have to choose an advisor. So I thought I would kind of get into that, especially after the lab presentations, introductions right now. So when you start here, you have like 4 to 6 weeks to choose an advisor. And I started looking into the options before coming here, but I was mostly guided by the following questions. So what topics and methods I think you should like consider before choosing a lab, how that aligns, how your personal research interests connect to the lab in particular. Also, what do you actually want to learn more about in the future that might not necessarily correlate to your current background? Ongoing projects that might interest you, where like, oh, actually, I do want to participate in that. And also maybe your future career goals and where you kind of see yourself in the future. So you can also, like the professor said before, talk to them directly. They don't buy it. They're very honest about how your research might fit into the lab. And what I can also warmly recommend is talking to the actual students, because they will tell you a lot about the lab culture, and also the dynamics, what current key projects are, how they are getting involved. Yes, and how working with the respective professor is. So how am I doing currently at STP? So after that wonderful process of choosing my lab, I ended up at D-Lab, shout out here. But I think generally speaking, one of the most plus points here are the people. And I remember during my admissions interview, I think I asked Professor Dasonli what she likes most here about the department. And she said, oh, the people are so nice. And I think before coming here, like I guess after coming here, I can really understand what she means by that, because the people, like the department's greatest assets are its people, and it's just a very warm atmosphere here. Everyone is very helpful, and I also really appreciate the interdisciplinarity of the people. I think in my cohort only, we're 5 people. I obviously come from political science, but we have computer engineering, linguistics, physics, and nursing. So it's very interesting background, and I think I greatly profit from that during like course discussions, because they offer very different perspectives, and also interesting use cases that I like was not aware of. So I think that's a huge plus point actually. I also think being here gives you a lot of opportunities to learn new things. There's many conferences and events that are being planned by the professors, where they invite other researchers and they talk about their research. So I feel like I learned a lot sometimes from like unexpected sources, which I really like though. And I think, of course, as an international student, Korean is a big thing. I don't speak Korean. I'm currently learning. It's progressing a little bit slower than anticipated, but fighting. But so it is great to speak Korean. Obviously, you're living in Korea, but it's not necessary for studying in the program, because all the courses are in English in the department. Yes, so obviously, if you're here, it's wonderful to learn Korean, but it's not like you're going to have a negative impact because of not speaking Korean in the classes. I think actually that was it for me, but if you have specific questions for me, I'm going to be roaming around here. You can also come directly to me and ask the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anissa, for sharing your experience. Next, we have Junyo, a PhD student in STP, who will provide insights into doctoral research and long-term academic and career perspectives. Please welcome Junyo.
So thank you for having me here. Such an honor. I'm Junyo Kim, a PhD student under Professor Bomsun Park. So I was wondering, what should I say in 5 minutes as a doctoral student? Indeed, there are plenty of events at STP. For example, there are strawberry parties or workshop, Teachers' Day, and year-end party, which makes you not feel lonely and gain some solidarity. Working as a graduate student makes you feel sometimes lonely. And not only that, there are also monthly colloquiums and workshops that can give you some experience of academic life. But as a doctoral student, I would more say about my academic life in light of my own experience. So actually, I think it's the question that comes into your mind, and it's also the question that comes into my mind before and after coming to STP. So what's STP? I felt that because there are plenty of diverse branches in a single in a single department. There are history and philosophy and sociology. That is comprehensible to be in the single department, but there are also policy, the data digital development, governance, aging technology policy, and AI. So I was wondering, why are they in the same department? So actually, I think you know this guy. And you're familiar with the picture right side. He's Leonardo da Vinci. And actually, when I was a kid, I was admiring him because he was good at everything and he holds some kind of integrative and holistic view on the phenomena. And I think that's the reason why as an undergraduate student, I majored sociology, philosophy, and also psychology. And that interest and with that interest, I majored sociology, especially sociology of scientific knowledge and sociological theory, which requires you to learn some kind of diverse topics and diverse areas. But I was still eager to hold more diverse perspectives. So that's the reason why I applied to STP. Indeed, the prime reason is because I like my advisor, and as a result, I'm now study about history of neuroscience and especially the epistemological status and function of modern organism as my research topic. And to do this task, I have to study neuroscientific knowledge and also some history and sociological theories about evolutionary theories and history of psychology or ethology or something diverse. And I think STP provides preferred ground for doing this task, and I think that's the big merit of STP. So at this point, I want to ask question again, but not this time, not what's STP, but why STP? I recommend you STP because it can provide you some holistic perspective and some diverse viewpoints. And I don't know whether it is fruitful to everyone. It depends on your taste, depends on your interest, on your style. But one thing I can be sure about is if someone asks me, do you regret being here? And I would definitely say no. Thank you.
Thank you, Junyo, for your valuable insights. Now we move on to the Q&A session. If you have any questions about the program, research, student life, or admissions, please feel free to ask. And you are welcome to ask your questions in either Korean or English, whichever you are more comfortable with. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible. So the faculty members are going to be here answering the questions. But before we ask you guys to ask the questions, let me first share the questions that were from the pre-survey.
Yeah.
So the first question we had was, could you share some cases of part-time students along with the pros and cons?
So if you already have a job and then an experience and then come to grad school, of course it's good to have prior knowledge and experience. The more you know, the more you can find good research questions and etc. But then at the same time, if you have too much knowledge, if you have too much experience, then it may be a little bit hard to accept new ideas and unfamiliar ideas or perspectives. So sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. So it depends. Yes.
Yeah. The second question. Yeah. Professors, if you want to interrupt and like add anything, then you may at any time. Yeah. The second question is, I noticed in the Q&A that about 10% of your students are part-time students. Is there a separate admission quota for part-time students?
No, we don't have a separate quota for part-time students.
Thank you. And the third question is, does having more work experience increase the chances of admission for part-time students?
I think I already answered that question. Yes. So it depends. Yes, more knowledge, more experience is always welcome. But then if you have too much knowledge, But we did have a lot of good part-time students who had their positions in research institutes and other places, and then they came to our program to take classes and then do exams and then do research. And then I have to say, it's really, really difficult to have a job and then to do a graduate study, especially, I guess, at STP. But some of those part-time students have really put a lot of so much effort in really going through the process of taking classes and exams and doing research. And some of them, they did a really fantastic job at the end of their journey. But it wasn't easy for them. So we welcome part-time students, but then also be prepared to spend so much time reading and writing and doing analysis and etc. So it's not easy, but it can be done.
Okay, thank you. And there are some questions about the STP program in general. The first question was, as a student in electrical engineering department, how can I leverage my technical expertise in specific policy research, such as AI ethics, energy policy, or biotech regulation? Does anyone want to answer that one? Yeah, one.
Okay, as a student who's formerly from computer science in KAIST, I think I could kind of answer this from my own experience. So one very obvious thing is about the data and the methodologies that you could use to analyze it. But that's so for me, I use some data science techniques that are not too widely used in my current research fields, but it still develops a pretty novel way of viewing the data. So that's one thing. But I think the more valuable thing is that when you're studying in these fields, and if you have experience working in a lab or with people who, like during their student years in those engineering departments, then you kind of get what their norms are. You could see like how they think, you see their rationale, you see their reasoning. And if you come to STP, you get to see that that's not always the case. So being an engineering student, you could be the best person there is to point out they have these ideas. The reality is like this. These two don't match, or we need something that could connect these two. And that develops into new ideas, new research ideas, and also new solutions. And if you're lucky enough, that becomes your thesis and you get a PhD. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Juan. The next question we have is, how feasible is it to switch labs during the course of your grad school years, or is that decision finalized once made?
Yes, it's possible to change your labs or change your advisor. it's always possible that your research interest may change or your career goal may change. So these things happen, and there's official process of finding or changing your advisor. So and then you can talk to your advisors or future advisor or also the department head, and then there's official forms. So of course these things happen, and then it's possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And the next question is, what proportion of the graduate courses are being offered in English?
I think by default, graduate courses are offered in English, but there are some exceptions when we offer some courses in Korean. But I think but by default, the English instruction is the norm for the graduate courses.
Mhm. And the last question from the pre-survey is, what are some of the research collaborations with international partners or international research groups?
To my knowledge, most international collaborations done at the faculty level. So faculty have a collaboration with the international faculties, then it's done. Do we have it at the institutional level? We have Georgia Tech. We have a MOU with Georgia Tech, so we have actually a formal the relationship with Georgia Tech. So I think that's one case. Yeah. So for example, I'm working with the two faculties from University of Chicago and psychologists doing cultural evolution. So looking at how the historical analysis of knowledge production I think the Junior met Da Vinci, but that's the area that we're studying. So that's one psychologist from Harvard and the management school at Chicago. So that's one group. I'm also working with the one that I talked about, the dissertation data where we build up masters and apprentice. The relationship is a collaboration with Sotaro at Tokyo. Yep.
So I usually work with North American universities and Western European universities. So I have collaborators in the Netherlands, in Germany, in Denmark, and then I also work with US and Canadian researchers as well on the energy transition.
Yep, thank you. Now, if you have any questions about the program, research, student life, or admissions, or anything, please feel free to ask. The floor is open for questions.
Thank you so much to the professor and all the students for such an interesting presentation. My question is regarding the admission process. In the admission process, it was mentioned that if it's for PhD, we need to submit a written sample. It could be thesis or dissertation, but at the same time, if I want to apply for PhD, do I also need to submit a separate research proposal as well? Or whether if I want to join a specific lab, should I present or mail my research proposal to the specific professor? Thank you.
So before you apply, it's a good idea to contact the faculty member or members with whom you would like to work. And then discuss your research ideas or proposal plans with them. And then when you actually apply, I think for the PhD application, there's room, there is a space in which you indicate which professors you'd like to work with. You can indicate one professor or two or three, but there's a space for that, so you can do that. And then for the writing sample, if you're applying for PhD, you can submit your master's thesis or your publication or other kinds of writing. The purpose of receiving those writing samples is that we're just curious what kind of scholar or student you are, what are your perspectives and how you approach your research topic, and then so it's really to get to know as a scholar and as a student, and then to see if that fits well with our own program.
Hello. Thank you for the nice presentation. I have a question. Like, apart from the collaboration with international partner, was about like collaboration with like other department labs, like collaboration with electrical engineering department or computer science department or the other department.
I'm an adjunct at the Graduate School of Mobility, so I work with them a lot. We have a conference coming up in July, where we will work together in Jeju.
I also do collaboration with the nuclear engineering department, and they meet in Jeju all the time in a nice weather.
And Professor Pomson Park is an adjunct professor at the Graduate School of Engineering Biology, and we are currently doing a project, global project with the professors at that department. Yeah. So we are like a history lab. So we look into the history of synthetic biology and biofoundries from the Korean perspectives, and yeah. Any other questions?
네, 안녕하세요. 오늘 발표해 주신 학생분들이랑 교수님들 너무 감사합니다. 저도 라이팅 샘플 관련해서 질문이 있는데, 딱히 홈페이지나 이런 데서 뭔가 제안사항을 확인하지는 못했는데, 혹시 뭐 국문이나 영문 아니면 뭐, 예를 들어서 작성된 시기라든지 이런 부분에 있어서 좀 선호되는 거나 아니면 내부 규율 같은 게 있는지 궁금합니다.
그렇게 아주 구체적으로 뭐 이렇게 요건을 해놓지는 않았을 텐데, 박사과정 아이티 샘플은 어쨌든 이 학생이 박사과정에 진학해서 공부하는데 필요한 어떤 뭐 지식 또는 뭐 연구 경험, 그다음에 뭐 분석 능력, 그리고 뭐 글쓰기 능력 이런 것들을 이제 갖추었는지 보고 싶기 때문에 하는 거라서요. 예를 들어 이제 뭐 고등학교 때 쓴 블로그 글 이런 거 제출하면은 그것으로는 우리가 판단하기 어렵겠죠. 아무리 굉장히 훌륭하고 멋있고 감동적일 수는 있지만 그것으로 우리가 이제 박사과정에 들어와서 공부하는 걸 판단할 수는 없으니까 아무래도 비교적 근래에 어떤 학술적인 자리에 또 학술적인 어떤 그 장 안에서 작성한 글 또는 뭐 논문 이런 것들을 제출해 주시는 것이 저희가 판단하는데 더 도움이 되겠습니다.
하게 쓰려고, 잘 쓰려고만 하지 말고, 자기가 어떤 고민을 하고 있는지, 그리고 STP에 오면 그 문제가 어떻게 해결될 수 있을 것인지, 뭐 이런 얘기들을 좀 하면 좋을 것 같습니다. 그러니까 뭐 자기 얘기를 한다고 해서 자기 경험을 아주 주저리주저리 얘기하는 거만이 좋은 건 아니고, 그게 어떤 좋은 주제로 이렇게 수렴하면서 그게 STP에서 제공하는 여러 가지 교육의 기회, 연구의 기회와 어떻게 연결이 될 것인지, 그래서 꿈을 어떻게 펼칠 것인지, 뭐 이런 얘기들을 하면 좋을 것 같고, SOP도 이제 석사 SOP는 조금 더 브로드하고, 어떤 연구를 한다고 해서 들어와가지고 너 왜 그 연구 안 하고 다른 연구해 이렇게 따지는 사람 아무도 없거든요. 그러니까 그냥 그런 것들을 잘 하면 되고, 근데 박사는 딱히 그렇지는 않고 조금 좀 더 포커스가 된 거를 원하기 때문에 아까 학과 선생님께서 말씀하신 것처럼 관심이 있는 포텐셜 어드바이저와 이제 조금 컨택을 한다거나 아니면 좀 더 뒷조사라면은 이제 어떤 퍼블리케이션을 했는지 이런 것들을 좀 자세하게 좀 보고 이런 것들을 아주 미래에 좀 쓰고 싶은지 이런 것들을 해가지고 그런 게 이제 SOP에 담겨지면 좀 더 컨빈싱 하죠. 그러니까 그냥 뭐 좋은 말만 나열한다고 해서 좋은 SOP는 아니니까.
더 질문이 있으실까요? Do you have any other questions? Yeah.
네, 안녕하세요. 입학 자격, 어플리케이션 할 수 있는 자격에 대해서 좀 알아보니까 박사 과정은 정책으로 석사를 마쳐야 하거나 아니면 이공계인 경우는 박사까지 마친 경우에만 또 정책 과정과 박사 과정으로 좀 지원을 할 수 있다고 나와 있는데요. 혹시 뭐 직장 경력이나 아니면 다른 석사 과정으로 해서 정책 관련한 마스터 디그리가 없어도 좀 도전할 수 있거나 아니면 좀 웨이버가 뭐 직장 경력 같은 걸 웨이버가 될 수 있는지 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
약간 그러니까 우리가 이공계 학생일 경우에 그 석사만 받고 그거를 이제 기준으로 해가지고 박사를 진학할 수 있느냐. 그, 우리가 룰이 진학할 수 없는 거죠. 그러니까 지금, 근데 좀 바뀌었던가? 그 석박 통합은 이렇게 해서 들어올 수가 있거든요. 그러니까 그렇게 권해요. 그러니까 그 조금 더 빨리 좀 할 수 있게. 그러니까 그 PhD가, 그러니까 그 이공계 PhD가 있는 사람을 원하는 게 아니라 그러니까 마스터가 있는 사람일 경우에 그렇게 오고 그 이제 공부가 그 과학 기술에 대한 굉장히 인문사회적인 정책적인 그런 연구기 때문에 그런 쪽에 인문사회 배경이나 경제 경영 그런 쪽에 있는 학생들은 석사를 거기서 받고 바로 박사를 진학할 수 있게 이렇게 디자인을 했거든요. 그러니까 그런 거니까, 하고, 직장 생활을 한 거는 이제 SOP에 많이 녹아두면은 뭐 그런 게 이제 고려가 되겠죠. 근데 그거가 입학 기준이나 뭐 그런 거에는 영향을 미치지는 않는 것 같습니다.
이제 그 지원에서 SOP를 제출하는 데 있어서 이제 그러면 그것들을 교수님들께서 이제 검토하시고 또 내용을 확인하시는데 중요하게 보는 어떤 학생의 자질이라든지 아니면 어떤 그런 그 연구 역량 같은 것들을 보는데 어떤 측면을 중요하게 평가하시는지가 조금 궁금해서 그런 걸 여쭤볼 수 있을지, 네, 그렇습니다.
다 중요하게 봅니다. 그래서, 근데 그게 아마 보는 분마다 다 달라서 다 그냥 에버리지 아웃 될 것 같은데요. 그래서, 예. 어, 근데 좀 제뉴인 하면은 좀 티가 나는데 요즘에 좀 잘 안 나는 것 같기도 하고. 그래서 말을 해봐야 요즘은 좀, 네, 그렇습니다. 그래서 아마 사실 되게 하드한 레코드가 더 중요해지는 시점인 것 같기도 합니다. 솔직히 얘기해서요. 네. 네.
예. 그 중요하게 본다기보다는 하여튼 학생의 지원서에서 그러니까 준비가 좀 되어 있는 학생인가 이런 걸 이제 보게 되는데요. 그러니까 그게 이제 꼭 STP 수업을 뭐막 100개가 아니라 뭐 20곳이 들어야 되고 이제 이런 게 아니라 그 어떤 때는 약간 이제 지원서를 그 SOP 같은 거 읽어보면은 이런 경우도 있긴 있어요. 드물지만 이 학생은 아무래도 한 2주쯤 전에 STP 존재를 알게 된 것 같다. 그리고 그냥 이게 이제 재밌어 보이고, 이렇게 그건 다 좋은 일인데 관심을 가지고, 그러니까 한 2주쯤 전에 STP를 알게 돼가지고, 그 검색을 약간 해보고, 이렇게 해서, 그냥 이제 관심이 많다고 이제 이렇게 열심히 써가지고, 지원한 것 같다. 이런 느낌이 들 때가 있어요. 근데 이제 대학원을 한 2주 정도 보낸 다음에 지원하는 거는 좀, 권할 수는 없거든요. 왜냐면 이제 들어오면 많이 고생을 해야 되니까. 그래서, 뭐, 이왕이면 하여튼 이 대학원이 나한테 잘 맞나? 내가 관심사가 무엇인가? 또 이 대학원에서는 어떤 연구를 하고 있고, 어떤 일들을 하고 있는지를, 좀 열심히 또 뭐 많이 이렇게 알아보고 생각해보고, 그것을 통해서 자신의 이제 생각을 또 좀 발전시켜가지고, 자기만의 또 어떤 질문도 좀 찾아보고, 또 이런 준비 같은 것들이 좀, 되어 있는, 경우를 아무래도 뭐, 우리가 뭐 심사? 하여튼 그거 할 때는 좀 선호하게 되겠죠. 네. 맞습니다. 그러니까 아무리 막 열정이 넘친다고 해도, 이 학생은 지난주쯤에 우리 구글 검색하다 이게 발견해가지고 여기에 후다닥 지원한 것 같다. 약간 이렇게 되면, 네네, 그렇습니다. 좀 너무 안 좋은 얘기를 했나. 어쩌다가 그런 경우가 있다는 얘기예요. 네, 어쩌다가.
We will receive the last question for today's info session.
Thank you for the presentation. Everything was really well explained. I just had one final interest. Where do the students or professors keep track of the latest research in these diverse fields? Are there international conferences which you guys keep track of to find the latest published researches? And where can students learn more and find these research papers to learn more?
Officially, we support two conferences, 4S and APAM. 4S stands for Studies Society of Social Studies of Science. So it's basically where you study science and technology studies, and APAM is the policy conference.
Set the track, not following it. But each individual discipline has its own professional societies. So the journals, conferences, and also the collaborators, and they're all informative, and so we don't worry about that.
Well, okay. Thank you all for your thoughtful questions and active participation today. We hope today's session has given you a meaningful introduction to the STP program. If you have any further questions or would like to learn more, please feel free to reach out to us after the session. You could contact us via email. Yeah, that's my email and Chung'in's email, the Vice Student Representative. Once again, thank you for your interest in the Graduate School of Science and Technology Policy, STP. We truly appreciate your time and participation today. Have a great evening and thank you.